now with Troy Anderson and Paul Begley, authors of the book Revelation 911, how the book of Revelation intersects with today's headlines. Gentlemen, in September 2021, the Pentagon released videos of military pilots experiencing UFOs. More people are now following ufologists on social media. Troy, tell us how this fits into the end times as described in the Bible.
You know, Gary, so the Apostle Paul talks about a powerful delusion that will deceive much of the world in the end times. And so with, for decades now, we've seen all these TV specials, Star Wars, Close Encounters, you name it, that sort of created this UFOs and aliens as sort of a religion to a certain number of people. In fact, there's polls showing that far more people believe in the extraterrestrials and UFOs than believe in the God as he's described in the Bible, a biblical worldview. And so as we've seen these congressional hearings and all these things going on about the supposed reverse engineering of alien technology we've discovered, we wanted to delve into this in Revelation 9:11. And, I interviewed a well-known astrophysicist, Hugh Ross, at Reasons to Believe, and he knows other astrophysicists at JPL and NASA, and they say that they don't believe that these aliens are coming from another planet or another galaxy, but they're interdimensional. And of course, that's what the Bible talks about. There's a great spiritual battle going on. So is it possible that all these reports of aliens and UFOs, is this demonic in nature?
Paul, what do you think? The Nephilim, fallen angels, they're receiving a lot of social media attention. So tell us why you believe that's part of a great deception here.
Yes, Gary. I mean, for sure, we had the giants. We know that in Genesis chapter 6. We know that the giants then had to be defeated when Joshua went across the Jordan River into Canaan. He ran into tribes after tribe of giants, but God gave us deliverance. Even David took down Goliath. But in these last days, we're starting to hear about cloning, transhumanism, artificial intelligence, using technology and gene splicing, cloning, where we're totally realizing that man is trying to figure out a way to recreate the superhuman race, these super soldiers. We even hear that being said by nations like Russia and others that are studying this. So we're in the time of great deception. We're in the time of great trying to shift everyone's attention away from God and to have fear about the unknown when we should really be putting our faith in God. We dig deep into this, Gary, in Revelation 9:11. We uncover those secret societies that are involved and a whole lot of others that are involved in this deceptive agenda. So we're keeping a focus on it in this book to show just how close we are to the coming of the Lord.
Troy, how does AI play into all of this? Because I know I've interviewed a number of people who say, hey, AI soon will be much smarter than human beings. So if it becomes smarter than humans, then why not just worship AI instead of God? I can see how that's the next progression. How does this fit into end times?
Yeah, even the famous transhumanist Noah Harari in Israel, he's talked about using AI to rewrite the Bible. And so, the Apostle John, 2,000 years ago, trying to describe what would be happening in the end times, he talked about the image of the beast, the mark of the beast. And so the first time in history, because we have an artificial intelligence, electronic banking, computer chip implants, Neuralink implants, brain chip implants, the surveillance state, you can actually have this mark of the beast system for the first time in history where you can't buy or sell. And that's what the Bible warns us of. The Antichrist and false prophet will preside over a global economic system. And so with artificial intelligence, with this super intelligence that's now been created, we can see this. And I think John, or the apostle, talked about this in the book of Revelation, just used terminology from the first century.
And Paul, one part of eschatology, of course, is the construction of the third temple on Jerusalem's Temple Mount. An important event leading up to that is, of course, the sacrifice of an unblemished red heifer. 5 red heifers are now in Israel, and I think they're in Shiloh, where the Ark of the Covenant was once housed. So these heifers are now old enough to be in part of the ceremony. So what are your thoughts on that? Are we getting closer to construction of the temple?
Oh, very close. Gary, I've been there 11 times. I've been on the Temple Mount 11 times. Just last year, I was at Shiloh. They were talking about these 5 red heifers that had already been brought in from farms in Texas. This is a focus like you wouldn't believe. Each time I go, the communication and the conversation by some of my friends, which are actually some ultra-Orthodox. They are focused on building this temple. So even the attack on October 7th by Hamas was totally, and Hamas admits it was what they called the Alaska flood. But their fear was that the red heifer the ashes would be burnt and it would start the process of building the third temple. So you're watching the whole world converge upon the navel of the world, really, the Holy Land itself. We are truly living now in the beginning stages of a prophetic timeline that won't turn back.
Troy, you talked earlier about the Great Reset. Are there any other recent news events that are prophetic signs of the end times? I'm thinking maybe part of the Great Reset is the whole mass immigration at our southern border here in the U.S., and we saw several years ago that happened in Europe. Is that part of the Great Reset? Are there other issues?
Yeah, the globalists, they want to merge America into this one world system, and they're openly talking about this at world government summits and all kinds of different forums, Davos and that kind of thing. And so this whole open borders thing is they want to bring the world together. They want to flood America with all kinds of people, essentially, vote for Democrats. And eventually that's part of their plan to merge this world into this global system. So almost everything we see happening today is designed by the elite to merge us into this one world system. And of course, the Bible warns, this will ultimately be presided over by the Antichrist and the false prophet, and bring a time of terrible tribulation upon the earth.
Well, and finally, Paul, there's good news, though, as you mentioned. That's the return of Jesus, the Messiah. Matthew 24:36 tells us that no man will know the day or hour of his return. So what does that tell us? Should we not be overly concerned right now, or what should we do?
Well, we should be concerned about the condition of humanity, the soul of man. And this solar eclipse that's taking place is actually, you notice, there's this all of a sudden energy from people who really don't follow the Bible or prophecy or eschatology. They want to know what this sign means. Is this special? Is this significant? Another sign. And what's happening with this solar eclipse is you have all three celestial bodies in play. You have the sun, you have the moon, and a comet known as the Devil's Comet. It's Pons Brooks 12P. It happens to be coming around the sun and will be visible by the naked eye during the eclipse in the shadow of the moon. You have all three of these happening at the same time, fulfilling prophecy when Jesus said this in Luke 21. So we really need to let people know, look, we're getting closer and closer and closer. We don't know the day or the hour. It would be crazy to try to predict that. But what we can do is point out the signs. I always say this, Gary, it's not really a timeline, it's a sign line.
Okay, wars and rumors of wars and signs and wonders. The book is Revelation 911, how the book of Revelation intersects with today's headlines. Troy Anderson and Pastor Paul Begley, thank you for sharing your insights. We appreciate it. God bless you guys.